So, you're burnt out. I'm burnt out. We're all burnt out. Burnout is normal, but dealing with it is the most important thing. I feel like I sound so monotonous in all my videos, but I can't help the way I talk. Like, I'm trying so hard to be introspective but also interesting at the same time, and I feel like that's a very difficult balance, so please bear with me. Enlightening Eats with Emma. I think that's what I'm gonna call this, because I have watermelon, then it was like sticky. Then I have pineapple that I have not eaten yet. Hello guys. Today's video is going to be a little bit more experimental. This video, I want to kind of help push all of us in 2025 to move towards self-growth and looking inwards. Obviously, it's very boring if I'm just yapping at you because you don't want to stare at my face for that long, which I get. So, I'm going to call this, I think, Enlightening Eats with Emma. Today, we are eating pineapple. Today, we are eating watermelon, not pineapple, but also pineapple. Let's open the fruit first. I opened it. Okay, so it's very good. Very, very good. Maybe I should put I think I'll put my headphones in. I'm back. But this time I have an earbud in. So you guys can hear me crunch on all the fruit, hopefully. Take a bite with me. Okay, today's topic, I think, for Enlightening Eats with Emma is going to be about burnout. We've all had burnout before. I've had burnout. Trust, as someone who graduated high school as valedictorian, and I go to a prestigious liberal arts women's college where all I do is write and write and write and read and write. Trust. I think coming from personal experience, burnout is quite common amongst college students. I think it's really easy to get burnout. But we can backtrack. What is burnout? The way I like to see it, burnout is when you get to a point where you really just have zero motivation, cannot or do not want to do anything. Sometimes it feels like you just don't know what to do with yourself, and it's like you don't know how to propel yourself forward because you're sick and you're tired, which is understandable. I feel like usually burnout tends to start with small things, feeling lazy and not really wanting to do your work, but as it gets really big, I feel like the serious lack of motivation can show not even just in like the quality of your work and the way you approach your work, but also the way you take on social interactions as well. I think one common misconception is that burnout solely applies to schoolwork, but I also feel like burnout can apply to social situations as well. If you're not really I feel like it's the concept of like a social battery. If you've been going out like every day, you're gonna get sick of it and it's gonna be like super draining to you. Especially like if you're an introvert. I'm safe. I am very extroverted. I love to go out. My social battery is great, but even me, there are days where I go out like every day with my friends and it's great and it's fun, but it takes a toll on you and you need time to recharge. overall, I feel like burnout starts with smaller things, not wanting to do an assignment or maybe missing an assignment, and then it kind of snowballs into bigger things, not wanting to do larger things or putting things off. I feel like procrastination is a big part of it. And also, I don't know, feelings of doubt, confusion, imposturing, like when you stop having that desire, feeling like you're falling behind because of it, I feel like is a big thing. I feel like for me personally with burnout, one thing it's made me realize a lot is like, or at least what it's made me question is like, are my hobbies actually hobbies if I don't want to do them when I'm burnt out? Like, I used to be an avid reader. I loved reading so much. And I still do like reading, but it's like, for a while, I just could not pick up any book, like nothing. I don't care what I was reading. The only thing I would read is like manga on my phone, because like reading, writing, and like doing all that stuff for school got me to a point where I was so sick of doing anything related to that I stopped doing it. And like obviously reading was my hobby, but it made me also think, well, is it actually a hobby if I don't want to do it when I'm burnt out, right? Because you would think in your head, oh, well, if it's a hobby, it's something that recharges me and it's something that I would want to do in my free time. But I didn't find myself kind of gravitating towards that. So I was like, is this really something I like to do, or is this something I've been conditioned to like to do? And I don't really have an answer for that. I feel like on one hand, yes, like maybe it could not be my hobby if it's like, it's something I find has become burdensome. But at the same time, I feel like you need to take time to like set boundaries and take space away from something. Even if I do like reading as a hobby, like for it to be a hobby, I need to have space between doing a lot of classwork, which involves reading and writing, and the actual act of like reading and writing in a separate space. And I feel like that's why I've grown to like reading and writing again, like journaling and like actually reading books, because I've been away from school on winter break. I feel like this also goes into the theory of like revenge bedtime procrastination, which I feel like a lot of people, including myself, tend to fall into. So they say revenge bedtime procrastination is when you're so busy during the day, your schedule is like packed and you're like filled up with things. So to try to take control back, you stay up later at night on your phone, typically in bed, like laying down, like doom scrolling. And that's like a way people try to take things back, which I do partake in on TikTok, on Instagram Reels sometimes. Yeah, I don't know if that actually like solves the problem though. Like, I don't think we gain more control back. I think it's the illusion of control, because we have those extra like 30 minutes to an hour on our phone before we're sleeping. But low-key, I feel like it perpetuates the cycle a little bit more, because by taking those extra moments back and feeling like you're temporarily in control for those moments, you at your most tired and stressed is staying up later to add more into your schedule, even if it's supposed to be like a wind down thing. And then like you wake up more tired and then you have to do everything all over again, and then it just gets like later and the cycles repeat more and more and more. So I feel like, I don't know, do I have solutions? I don't have any concrete solutions, but stay with me here. What have I personally done to work on defeating burnout on my own? I briefly mentioned this earlier, but I feel like taking time away from your work and like separating your work from your hobbies is a really good way to prevent burnout, because I think, at least with reading was always a hobby to me, like growing up and like still now, but because reading is also like a huge requirement of a lot of the work that I do. You know, for any of my poli-sci classes, my like research assistant work at school, it's really hard to make clear boundaries and separate like the skills and things you need to do for work from activity, because it's still the same thing, it's just being applied in different contexts. I don't want to say get a new hobby, but low-key, maybe not getting a new hobby, but like practicing it in a somewhat different light can sometimes help with that, at least in my personal experience. That's why I started reading a lot of like comics, like manga and manhwa. I still love webtoon, even though I don't like those stupid coins. But I think it's like that same premise where it's like I'm doing the same activity, like I am still reading in both situations, but it's like being applied in a different lens. When I'm doing reading for work, it's more analytical, right? I have to look for information, I need to like make concrete outlines, I have to absorb a lot more of what I'm reading, so it takes a lot of like concentration and effort. That's like the style of reading and writing that naturally follows kind of political science and stuff like that. Doing reading, I guess, or like just reading like comics, graphic novels, manhwa, things like that, plus like some sort of like self-help philosophy books, I think has been a really good way for me to separate what I like to do, but into different categories to avoid being burned out by it. Because honestly, I did take like a Korean literature class and I liked it a lot during school, but the Korean literature class, it was a lot of like fiction, but it was very analytical. All of those skills I keep confined to like that of my classwork, because that's how I preserve my energy for doing that, specifically in that lens, if that makes sense. Versus when I'm reading like comics or like those self-help books, like it's not really something I do because I need to apply skills, more so something I do for entertainment purposes. Reiterating myself, keeping those boundaries has helped me not feel so burdened by what I do, and helped keep the boundaries between like hobby and like actual work a little bit more defined, so that I don't feel that way like, oh, is this actually a hobby? Because it is. Reading is still a hobby to me. It's just I need to keep it practiced as a hobby as well, in a more distinct way than I do like classwork and stuff. We finished the watermelon. Now we're eating pineapple. I'm so weak. This is really sad. I opened it. Okay, so that was my personal advice on separating your hobbies from like work skills and how that can avoid burnout. I feel like there are other small things that I've learned to do that help me deal with burnout as well. I think one of them is being able to like put my work down, which I know a lot of people are gonna be like in the comments, or just like thinking to themselves like, but I can't put my work down, like I'm not done with it, it's really blah 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 blah. As a perfectionist, yes, I think the same way. Like when I put things down, I'm like angry at myself. I'm like, why did I just like set it aside? Like I could have finished it, blah blah blah. I'm not saying don't meet your deadlines, but I'm saying I think sometimes it's okay to not have to like rush to the finish line and overachieve in terms of like getting something done 2 or 3 days before, getting something done like super ahead of time, or like if it doesn't have to be like passed with super like flying colors as well. I feel like being able to make the small sacrifices for the greater good is really important, and I've learned that a lot. Like in high school, oh my god, every time I would do homework, my homework had to be perfect too. That's what I'm saying. If it doesn't count, if it's just a thinking exercise, if it's just like something simple, you're not getting graded on it. I'm not telling you to not try, but know when it's okay to put things down and say it's not that big of a deal. because putting too much effort into the low stakes things is gonna burn you out for the high stakes things. I think the same applies when you're like reading something, doing something, like homework a lot. If you find yourself getting frustrated with either problem sets or you're studying for something, like 6 hours non-stop is going to just contribute to your burnout. Like knowing when to step away for a second, recalibrate your thoughts, take a break, get a snack, and then hit it right again is really, really important. Because once you hit that point where you're like frustrated or you're super tired, you're not going to retain things the right way unless you just, even if it's like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, be able to exercise self-control, to take a 5-minute break, to like compose yourself, and your work is going to skyrocket in quality. Yeah, I think knowing when to stop is a really, really important thing. And I used to practice this with my dad as well with tennis. I would get really frustrated when I practiced tennis with my dad because I would keep trying and trying and trying. Something just wouldn't click the way I wanted it to when I was practicing. And I would get really frustrated and I would get like annoyed. And then like all of a sudden, because I was frustrated, I just could not focus the same way and put the same level of energy as I wanted to into all of my work. And so my dad would just be like, let's just pack up, let's just leave, it's not doing you any good right now. That used to really, really, really set me off. Like me and my dad would argue about this all the time. And I would be like, I can do it, I'm fine, I can do this, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, when you are in that hole and you're frustrated by something, it doesn't matter if it's tennis. It could be a problem set, it could be something you keep rereading over and over and over, it just doesn't make sense and you're irritated, even if you're not like admitting it to yourself. That feeling, that irk, it's going to hold you back from like understanding the entire thing. Taking a break doesn't mean you're stupid or incompetent, it just means that you need to recalibrate, and that's okay. And so on the days where I was not being productive and I was just frustrating myself, I put the racket down and I went home and I like ate food with my dad and stuff. And then once I was a little bit more composed, I was able to reflect back on some of the things I was doing that didn't really help my tennis progress. And I feel like that skill is something that really helps combat burnout. Pushing yourself till you break over and over and over isn't going to help you learn what's wrong. It's just gonna force you to work backwards and like mend all of that stuff. Like being able to notice when there's something that's like not working, and notice when you're feeling strained or you're frustrated or something's not happening in the way you wanted it to, will help you put your best foot forward and not like, I guess, get demoralized in the process of getting what you want. I think the last thing I can say as a tip to overcoming burnout is just letting time do its thing in your rejuvenation process. This summer, or I guess 2024 summer, I did a lot of traveling, but I didn't work. And some part of me was like beating myself up a little bit that I didn't work. But at the same time, it's my first year of college, very hard to find an internship as a freshman sometimes. And even if that's what I wanted, overall, I'm really, really glad that I took time this summer to just travel, focus on myself, get into more creative projects, as I was like filming vlogs and stuff like that. Like, it's dumb in theory, but being able to take time away from doing work and school, I think was really good for me, because I'm the type of person that is always going and going and going and going, and I see things ahead, like in the distance, so I'm just running, but I tend to miss out on a lot of things. And I think being able to take time and take a step back to just like relax, just go out and eat all the time, go hang out with my friends every day, was really healing and really good for my brain. It gave me a better idea of how to balance work and social life, and that it's okay to take time for yourself. If you're not feeling good, the quality of your work is going to reflect that. That's why it's very important. I feel like this video had a lot of like trailing thoughts that never finished, but this is supposed to be an experiment. I mean, it's supposed to be cohesive, but I just wanted to experiment with this type of like personal one-on-one talking type of video, and also something that allows me to give you guys personal advice and more self-growth and stuff like that. So I hope this video resonated, and if it does well, maybe you'll see more of this. If it doesn't, you will never see any of this ever again. But yeah, I just wanted to put out something a little bit more talkative, because I do talk in my videos, but it's never about anything. Like, I wanted to experiment with this kind of self-growth content and help inspire you guys to gain more confidence and work on your inner self, and as I learn as well. And so if this video resonated, that's good. Maybe I'll do more. Maybe I'll eat more different things next time. I ate fruit today. Thank you guys for watching. Tell me in the comments if a lot of this stuff resonated, if you do something similar, how you combat burnout, if you agree or disagree with me. Love to read everything. But yeah, I hope to see you guys next time, and thanks for sticking with me in this more experimental type of video.